All right, so I was going to do my C# homework tonight, but I'm going to save that for tomorrow because I have my HTML web development and design homework that's due tonight, so I need to get this done. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. Um, in my the last time I went live, we went over the chapter 3 CSS stuff, but this time we're going to go into um, we'll be covering chapter 4, and I think it's just going more in depth with the CSS stuff. So I'm gonna hop right into it here. All right. Okay, so the objectives for this lesson, we're going to create and format lines and borders on web pages, decide when to use graphics and what graphics are appropriate, apply the image element to add graphics to web pages, optimize an image for web page display, configure images as backgrounds on web pages, configure images as hyperlinks, configure rounded corners, box shadow, text shadow, opacity and gradients with CSS, configure RGBA colors with CSS, configure HSLA colors with CSS, use the figure and fig caption elements, configure a graphic display with the meter and progress elements, find free and fee-based graphics sources, follow recommended web design guidelines when using graphics on web pages. And then we have our student files I already downloaded. For some of this, I might have it read to me because my throat has been kind of bothering me, but I'll try and read as much as I can. So a key component of a compelling website is the use of interesting and appropriate graphics. This chapter introduces you to working with visual elements on web pages. When you include images on your website, it is important to remember that not all users are able to view them. Some users may have vision problems and need technology such as a screen reader application that reads the web page to them. In addition, search engines send out spiders and robots to walk the web page and catalog pages for their indexes and databases. Such programs do not access your images. Visitors using a mobile device may have images disabled. As a web developer, strive to create pages that are enhanced by graphical elements but are usable without them. Configuring lines and borders. Web designers often use visual elements such as lines and borders to separate or define areas on web pages. In this section, you'll explore two coding techniques to configure a line on a web page: the HTML horizontal rule element and the CSS border and padding properties. Horizontal rule element. A horizontal rule element, HR, visually separates areas of a page and configures a horizontal line across a web page. Since the horizontal rule element does not contain any text, it is coded as a void tag and not a pair of opening and closing tags. The horizontal rule element has a new semantic meaning in HTML5. It can be used to indicate a thematic break or change in the content. The border and padding properties. As you may have noticed, when you configure background colors for heading elements in Chapter 3, block display HTML elements form the shape of a rectangular box on a web page. This is an example of the CSS model, box model, which you'll explore in detail in Chapter 6. For now, let's focus on two CSS properties that can be configured for the box, the border and padding properties. The border property. The border property configures the border or boundary around an element. By default, the border has a width set to 0 and does not display. You can set the border width, border color, and border style with the border property. And there's more. You can even configure individual settings for the top, right, bottom, and left borders using the border top, border right, border bottom, and border left properties. The border style property. The border style property configures the type of line displayed in the border. The formatting options include inset, outset, double groove, ridge, solid, dashed, and dotted. Be aware that these property values are not all uniformly applied by browsers. Figure 4.2 shows how a recent version of Firefox renders various border style values. All right, so we have default, inset. Okay. The CSS to configure the border shown in 4.2 uses a border width of 4 pixels. The value indicated for the border style property and a border color of black. That's what that color is. For example, the style rule to configure the dashed border follows, and we have the example here. A shorthand notation allows you to configure all the border properties in one style rule by listing the values of border width, border style, and border color, as in the following example. The padding property. The padding property configures empty space between the content of the HTML element, usually text, and the border. By default, the padding is set to 0. If you configure a background color for an element, the color is applied to both the padding and the content areas. The padding property can be configured with a variety of values, including pixels, units, and percentages. You'll apply the padding and border properties in the next hands-on practice. So we have new CSS properties that are introduced to covering a lot of the background. And then we have our border. All right. All right, so here's our first hands-on practice. In this hands-on practice, you'll work with the border and padding properties. Launch a text editor. So we're going to go ahead and open up our Notepad++. Okay. All right, let me get this. See if I can share the Notepad++. Well, let's just go over what they want us to do here then. In this hands-on practice, you'll work with the border and padding properties, launch a text editor, and open the web page found at Chapter 4. So we'll go ahead and open this up. Chapter 4, and then it's going to be Starter 1. You will modify the CSS style rule for the H1 element selector and footer element selector. When you're finished, your page should look similar to the one shown in Figure 4.3. Edit the CSS style rules as follows. Okay, so going to go ahead and edit that. right, so let's see if it will let me share the right screen. All right, I think I figured it out. There we go. So here is our code for CSS. And then let's see what they want. Actually, just gonna do this. All right, so first thing we're going to want to edit is our H1 style element. We have our H1 selector right here. They want us to remove the line height and text indent. And then they want us to add padding. So we're going to add a padding element 1. Okay. And then we're going to modify the RH2. And we're not taking anything away from this one, but we're just going to add border, bottom. Oh my gosh. Bottom 2 pixels. Okay, like that. And then we're going to add styles to the footer element selector to configure a thin, solid top border in the color along with 10 pixels. Okay. The footer element, which is right here, we're going to go ahead and edit that. So for our color is fine. We're just going to add border top and solid, and then this color, whatever color this is, I'm not sure. And we're going to add padding to the top. And the color is good. So it looks like that's all that we need to modify in this document. So they want us to save as, let's see, I'm going to go ahead and save it in our chapter 4 homework as border. And it's already in our HTML format. So now we're going to open it up. And we're going to make sure that it's displaying properly on the website. Okay, so all right, so let me see. Mm, I'm just opening up my file to make sure that they look the same. Let me see if I can share. Okay, let me share the screen here. All right, so this is what my page looks like that I just edited. And I was trying to get the student file up so that I could compare my work to make sure that it looks the same.